So, you want to learn tarot, but you're not sure where to start. Lucky for you, you found the solution to your problem. Tarot for Beginners is the perfect guide for anyone who wants to learn this ancient divination practice.
Hello, this is Sybil Wolfe, and you are listening to Tarot for Beginners, the ultimate guide for real tarot card meanings, simple spreads, and intuitive exercises for seamless readings. Learn symbolism, history, secrets, intuition, and divination. Provided to you by United Audiobooks. I hope you enjoy my audiobook. Now, let us begin.
Introduction. This little tome is the last book you'll ever need to read on the tarot. Yes, really. The tarot, a simple deck of cards emblazoned with occult symbols, promises to reveal what is hidden. We consult the cards in search of answers, a glimpse of what's to come in our lives. Each arcane image holds a message for us, should we be aware enough to recognize it and wise enough to heed it. And having picked up this book, you are well on your way to both wisdom and vision in spades. If you have ever wanted to practice tarot but felt intimidated by its complexities, if you have seen evidence of your own psychic abilities and long to unlock your intuition and dive deeper into these powers of yours, if what has always stopped you from mastering tarot is the drudge of memorization, then this book is for you. I have practiced tarot for more than 20 years and worked as a professional card reader. In my years of building a relationship with the deck, there have been many ups and downs, trials and tribulations, struggles and breakthroughs. I wrote this book because I feel called to share with you the simple truths about the tarot that I have learned through experience, to give you the keys you need to unlock tarot mastery without struggling as I did. In these pages, I've passed to you everything I know about giving an effective and authentic tarot reading in clear language, busting a number of myths you may have heard along the way. If you follow along with me, you'll learn how to recognize the symbolic images in the cards and use these clues to feed your intuition. You'll practice trusting your gut when interpreting the cards so that you never have to memorize another card's meaning again. And when you stop reaching for the guidebook, insightful, powerful readings will flow naturally. I've pulled a card for you, dear reader. It is the High Priestess. She has much to teach you if you follow her into the depths of your own consciousness. So, come along with us. Chapter 1. Demystifying the Tarot. Of the many methods of divination, the tarot is perhaps the most quintessential and the most misunderstood. The cards are often featured in popular culture, typically in the hands of an antagonistic witch or gypsy, feared and respected for her clairvoyant powers. She pulls death from her deck, and the protagonist gasps in horror. With their ornate, symbolic artwork and promise of the future revealed, the cards fascinate and terrify in equal measure. In recent years, public opinion of tarot has shifted. What was once considered heretical black magic is regarded more and more as a means for spiritual growth. Even still, the truth of the tarot remains obscured, intentionally oftentimes by tarot practitioners, and it is from this sense of the unknown that fear springs. The essential first step in learning to read the cards is understanding what they are and how they work. So let's pull back the shroud. Tarot 101. The tarot is a deck of 78 cards, 4 suits of 14 cards, analogous to the suits of today's familiar playing cards, and 22 trump cards. When used for divinatory purposes, the cards are shuffled, chosen, and arranged in what practitioners call a spread. A tarot reader then interprets or reads the cards in the spread based on their relative positions and arcane imagery. The goal is to divine guidance, and commonly, a specific question is asked of the deck. Tarot can be practiced solo or with a group of querents, those who are seeking guidance, and done anywhere with minimal tools. The practitioner doesn't even need to be in the same room as the querent. Video calls work great for readings, while some readers prefer to write their observations down in private and deliver them to the querent that way. The key to card reading. Anyone can learn to read tarot cards and read them well. All it takes is a little bit of study and a lot of intuition. Intuition is key. It is the entire mechanism by which the practice of divinatory interpretation works. Intuition is the ability to understand something without conscious reasoning. It is the voice in your head that is sometimes hard to hear over the din of life, the sensation in your gut when you know something is true, but you can't explain why. Everyone has the power of intuitive knowledge. It is innate to your humanity. Learning to harness this power and growing your intuitive abilities is what makes a great tarot reader. When you read a tarot card spread, it is absolutely essential that you listen to what your gut tells you about the meaning of the reading. If instead you lean entirely on the written card meanings, your reading will be flat, lifeless, and probably nonsensical. The tarot doesn't reveal truths to you so much as you reveal truths by the way you intuitively interpret the cards. This seemingly subtle distinction is everything. The power of divination comes from within you, not from the tarot deck. We'll cover all you need to know about tapping into your intuition in this book. What you stand to gain. Unlocking your intuition and learning to read the cards will benefit you in many ways. Here are just a few of the things a tarot practice can bring to your life. Clarity and decisiveness. Tarot cards excel at helping us make difficult decisions, not because they provide clear instruction, but because they help us see the situation clearly for what it is. New perspectives. You will likely intuit messages from the cards that challenge your way of seeing things, or you may have ideas you never would have considered without their guidance. Improved relationships. When it comes to relationships, romantic, friendly, familial, or professional, the cards can help you find compassion for others and empower you to communicate your needs and feelings. Confidence and self-love. Building your intuitive power will naturally build your confidence as you learn to trust yourself. Living your best life. The tarot can help you not only identify patterns in your life, but find the root cause of them so that you can break them for good. With regular practice, you'll start to realize your highest self. Comfort in hard times. You can turn to your tarot deck when your mind is clouded with troubled feelings. The practice itself is meditative and calming, and the guidance you'll find in the cards can bolster your resilience. And inner peace. Stick with your practice, and you'll cultivate a sense of deep, spiritual calm. Tarot myths busted. I can't read tarot cards because I'm not a psychic. This belief is as widespread as it is patently false. Tarot, much like divination, is an intuitive practice, and while it may come naturally to some, using your intuition is ultimately a learned skill, not an inborn talent. My aim with this book is to give you everything you need to tap into and embolden your inner voice, the one and only way to deliver authentic, intuitive tarot readings. Tarot cards are magical objects imbued with power. You might be surprised to learn that this is untrue. Your deck of tarot cards is just a bunch of pretty cardstock, no more magical than any piece of paper, save for the energies you have transferred to it. The power lies entirely in the reader, who simply uses the cards as a tool to channel energy and tap into inner guidance. I can't remember all of the card meanings, so I have to keep the guidebook close by when doing a reading. This myth is the most insidious of all. Your ability to read the cards relies almost entirely on your ability to tap into your inner guidance. Every time you reach for the reference book to look up the meaning of a card, you're missing an opportunity to stretch that intuitive muscle. The card meanings are important, and chapters 6 through 7 include no-nonsense interpretations for you to refer to. But in chapter 5, I'll reveal the secrets to using them to strengthen rather than silence your inner voice. Tarot cards are a fortune-telling device used to predict the future. The truth is that tarot cards and other divination methods are much less about predicting the future and more about guiding the querent towards their very own inner truths so that they can live to their fullest potential. The cards can show you the future, but it is not an inevitable, deterministic future. It's a reflection of the querent's innermost hopes and fears, a mirror held up to their subconscious. The real power of the tarot is to deliver not divine guidance, but inner clarity. I'll reveal the number one key to developing an intuitive tarot practice in Chapter 3. I can't buy my own deck of tarot cards. I have to receive them as a gift, or else they won't work. This myth is not just a harmless superstition. It's gatekeeping in action. Nothing needs to stop you from beginning your tarot practice, least of all waiting for a loved one to take the hint. I am giving you permission right now. Buy your own damn tarot cards. Tarot cards are evil, satanic, and dangerous. Oh, please. There is nothing malicious about tarot cards. And the only danger in asking questions to the cards is that you might get an honest answer you aren't ready to hear. Whether you're brand new to the cards or seek to deepen your understanding and improve your practice, I hope you've learned something about tarot in this crash course. In the next chapter, I'll unveil the true history of the tarot. Far from demonic, it began as a parlor game. Chapter 2: The History of the Cards. It is no coincidence that the 4 suits of the tarot so closely resemble the 4 suits in a standard deck of playing cards. Tarot cards originated as playing cards, and what makes them unique from others is the trump suit or major arcana. Only a parlor game. The origin of playing cards is unknown, but they seem to have first appeared in Europe around the late 1300s, likely due to trade with Middle Eastern countries. We don't know what these first European cards looked like or how they were played. Surviving records of the card games of this time mostly exist because they were banned in many places as the cards caught on in Europe. The first known tarot deck that included the major arcana, again, this is what distinguishes the tarot from any other deck of cards, not the purpose for which it is used, was recorded around 1450 in Italy. By this time, it was standard to depict religious symbols on playing cards because this was a common language that was understood by all, regardless of education. By the Victorian era, tarot cards were quite popular as a parlor game throughout England, France, and Italy. The game of tarot was played similarly to modern bridge. As civilization marched forward, the wealthy classes grew in number, and leisurely activities like playing cards became a symbol of status and a common feature in well-to-do homes across Europe, with the wealthy commissioning custom-painted tarot trump cards. with a touch of the occult. The origins of the tarot cards and their symbolism are shrouded in mystery, but it only takes a quick glance at the imagery of the decks to see that the art draws from ancient sources. Since the first card games likely came to Europe by way of the Middle East, it's not surprising that Egyptian mythology pictures heavily in the tarot. But the cards also give nod to Greek myth, pagan earth worship, numerology, and astrology, not to mention Kabbalah, which is inherent in the very number of the major arcana, 22, equivalent to the letters of the Hebrew alphabet. The history books will tell you that there is no evidence for the tarot cards having been developed as a divination tool, but the weight of these symbols leaves questions that historians have not yet been able to answer. The first known tarot deck, created specifically for occult practices, was published by a Frenchman who called himself Etela around 1790, along with the first book about tarot, The Art of Reading Cards. Others followed suit, and by the mid-1800s, the use of tarot cards for divination had spread across Europe, such that psychics and mediums were paid to perform card readings, palm readings, and other divinatory acts at private parties. The Tarot of Marseille. The first tarot deck to gain widespread popularity was the Tarot of Marseille, which was developed in Italy and popularized in France. The deck is still used today. In the Marseille tradition, the minor arcana are illustrated as pip cards, depicting only the number of wands, cups, swords, or pentacles in question, without a symbolic illustration to hint at their meaning, much like today's playing cards. This can make the Marseille deck challenging for new tarot readers, without much to go off of in a reading, symbology-wise. The Rider-Waite Legacy. The cards that are so recognizable to us today weren't published until 1909 by mystic A.E. Waite and illustrator Pamela Smith. The deck is sometimes referred to as the Rider-Waite Smith in order to give Smith credit for her impressive contribution. These cards were popularized in the 1970s during the New Age movement, when Stuart Kaplan published Tarot Cards for Fun and Fortune-Telling. Kaplan catapulted the Rider-Waite deck into popularity, and since the 70s, many new decks have been produced under the inspiration of Waite and Smith's classic cards. The Thoth deck. Another old-school deck you can still find today, the Book of Thoth, was created by famed occultist Aleister Crowley of the Order of the Golden Dawn and painted by Lady Frida Harris. It was completed in 1943. Crowley brought many of his own esoteric ideas to the deck, transforming some of the Rider-Waite's major arcana. Strength becomes lust, and temperance becomes art, for example. This Thoth deck is still popular today, but its imagery can be quite obtuse for the beginner. You might say that Crowley began something with the Thoth deck. However, as in the years since, more and more tarot decks with increasingly esoteric and personal symbolism have been produced. Just as Rider and Crowley made tarot their own, you can do the same. We'll start small. I'll leave the chapter on designing your own deck for my next book. In the next chapter, I'll teach you everything you need to know to start your own tarot practice that's unique to you. And with practice, you'll be an established card reader before long.
I hope you are enjoying my audiobook so far. It would be a pleasure if you could let me know how you are feeling about this audiobook in the comments section below. We would greatly appreciate it if you could also like this video and subscribe to United Audiobooks to have access to more best-selling audiobooks in the future. Also, please, if you are interested in getting more free audiobooks, please click the first link in the description below. Now, let us carry on with the next chapter.
Chapter 3. A Practice of Your Own. Enough with the history lessons. Let's start practicing. I'll walk you step by step through getting started with your own tarot practice. From choosing your cards to deciding how you'll use them. Before we get to the cards, I'd like to introduce you to your new best friend, your tarot journal. The essential first step, your tarot journal. Your tarot journal is the key to developing your skill and honing your intuition. If you take nothing else away from this book, let it be this. Get yourself a blank journal or sketchbook. Pick one that you like to look at, so you'll be motivated to write in it. Keep this journal with your tarot cards by your bedside or someplace you are likely to see it each day. You'll want to make a habit of using this journal. Throughout the book, I'll give you instructions on what to write in your journal and provide exercises you can record there for practice. I recommend that you record every reading you do in your journal, indicating the spread, where the cards lay, and your interpretations. But you don't have to stop there. Use your tarot journal as you see fit. You can write about your day, make a vision collage, whatever makes the book feel like home to you. What's essential is that you use your journal every time you practice reading your cards. Over time, you'll build a resource much more valuable than any guidebook. It's all in the cards, your tarot deck. As I said before, you have my permission to go out and buy yourself a tarot deck. You can find them in bookstores, metaphysical shops, or on the internet. Try Amazon or Etsy. If you already have a deck, that's great. But before we continue, ask yourself, do you connect with these cards? When you look at the cards, does the meaning of the symbolism come readily to you? If your answer isn't yes, I suggest you find yourself a deck that speaks to you. Choosing a deck. There is no end to the variety of tarot decks available today. From unicorns to Wicca, from herbs to Egyptian gods, there's a highly specific deck for everyone's calling. How to find the right one for you? Here's my advice. Start with the Rider-Waite deck. You probably thought I was going to tell you to let your intuition choose your tarot deck, right? Wrong. Let me tell you a story. Many years ago, my best friend knew that I wanted a new deck of tarot cards, so she surprised me with a beautiful deck as a birthday gift. She had picked the deck with care, knowing that its imagery would resonate with me, and she was right. I fell instantly in love with those cards. I closely examined each card in awe and wonder, performed a couple of quick readings, leaning heavily on the guidebook, slipped the Gilded Edge deck into a luxurious velvet pouch, and then I proceeded to let them sit untouched on my bookcase for months. Those cards intimidated the heck out of me because I had no idea what any of the symbols on them was supposed to represent in a reading. These cards were very figurative, each with only flowers to illustrate its concept. While I loved flowers, I wasn't versed in their language, and being relatively new to tarot, I didn't have the foundational knowledge of the cards to support me. My readings were bad. I had to ask friends to wait while I flipped through the guidebook. As a result, I didn't feel motivated to use the cards, and my practice suffered. There is phenomenal power in the deck that speaks to you. Those are your cards. If you find a deck that calls your name, get it. Use it and love it. Or, let it sit on the shelf for a few years. But I strongly recommend that you also keep a deck of regular old Rider-Waites around while you are still learning to read the cards intuitively. If the Rider-Waite deck doesn't inspire you, you can find a number of fun decks that put a fresh take on this classic imagery, such as the Modern Witch Tarot deck. Once you master reading these classic cards, the world of tarot symbolism will open up to you. and you'll intuit messages from any imagery with confidence. Getting to know your deck. Once you've chosen a deck, or two if you followed my advice, spend some time getting to know your cards. Here are a few simple practices to familiarize yourself with your new cards. The deep dive. Examine each card individually, one by one. Spend as long as 30 seconds on each. Look closely and notice every detail of the imagery. In your tarot journal, list each card one by one and write a short description of what you see. Then, look up the meaning of the card in Chapter 7 and consider how the description relates to the basic interpretation. You may do this over several sessions. There are a lot of cards in the deck after all. The Getting to Know You spread. What better way to learn about your deck than to ask the cards? There are many Get to Know Your Deck spreads out there. A quick Google search will reveal a ton. Here's my personal recommendation for an easy 4-card spread. Shuffle your deck and draw 4 cards. The cards will answer these 4 questions. 1. Show yourself to me. 2. Show me myself. 3. How can we work together? And 4. What are our limitations? Place the first card and the second card next to each other. These are cards 1 and 2. Place the third card in the center above 1 and 2, and place the fourth card in the center beneath, so you have a diamond-shaped layout. The first card represents the unique energy of your deck. This could be its personality or perhaps its divine purpose. The second card shows you as you are now, in your relationship with the cards. If it isn't positive, don't fret. You've only just begun. The third card gives you guidance on how your energy interacts with the decks and how you can put these to their higher use. The final card tells you where the weak points are for your deck or your practice. Make sure you record this reading in your tarot journal, including the cards, their placements in the spread, and your interpretations. A card a day. This is essentially a daily single card reading that can help familiarize you with the deck. Every morning, pick a random card from your deck. Take your time to examine the card, noting all of the details of the imagery. Look up the meaning of the card in Chapter 7 and meditate on it for a moment while you hold the card. Think about what you anticipate for the day ahead and consider how this card may relate to your present circumstances. Does it have a message for you? Open your tarot journal and write the name of the card at the top of the page. Underneath, write down your interpretation of the card, including any insights or simple feelings that came to mind when you held it and considered its energy. Cleansing your cards. It is good practice to energetically cleanse your cards from time to time, as they pick up energies from you and your querents as you shuffle and draw them. You can cleanse your deck in any number of ways, just as you would energetically cleanse anything. Here are some suggestions. Smoke cleansing. Use the smoke from smoldering herbs, such as white sage, or incense to cleanse your deck. Let the smoke wash over the cards and envision the smoke carrying away errant energies. Crystal cleansing. Place a crystal of clear quartz or selenite on the top of your deck and leave it there overnight. Remove the crystal in the morning. The crystal will absorb energy from the cards and leave them balanced. Cutting the deck. Some practitioners like to keep it simple. You can cut the deck, envisioning the energy in the cards being reset with this intentionally disruptive action. No matter which method you choose, give your deck a good, solid shuffle afterwards. Here are some signs that it may be time to give your cards a cleanse. The same cards keep coming up over and over again. Of course, this can also mean you're not listening to what the cards are saying. Or your readings are consistently hard to make sense of, and cards don't seem to apply to the questions asked of them. The key word here is consistently. Most times, when a reading doesn't seem to make much sense, it all becomes painfully clear a little while later. Developing your practice. The best thing you can do if you want to get good at reading the cards is to practice every day, even if it's just a one-card reading, and record this practice in your tarot journal. Your tarot practice is unique to you. It is all yours. There is no right or wrong way to read tarot cards, provided you are listening to your instincts. Here are just a few ways you may practice tarot to get your ideas flowing, along with some myths you might have heard about tarot rules. Make it special. Find a regular time of day to practice and set up a comfortable space in which to do so. Set the mood. Light some candles or incense, put on soft music, and get cozy. Take a moment to meditate in this space before you start reading. Ground and center yourself here. Make tarot time special. Wraps and pouches. The box your tarot cards came in is a decent enough place to keep them, but many readers find that a more intimate container holds power for them. Velvet pouches and wooden boxes are popular, but my favorite method is a scarf or cloth. You can wrap your deck in patterned silk, and when it's time to untie the bow and read the cards, you can roll out the scarf to reveal a lovely surface for your spread. Read for yourself. You may have heard that you can't read your own tarot cards, which is simply laughable. All the readers I know do it. How else would we practice? The only danger you face in reading your own cards is allowing your innate biases to color your perception, rather than facing the difficult truths your higher self will try to reveal to you. For this reason, I find it's wonderful to have a professional reading done, even as a professional tarot reader myself. The new perspective a stranger provides can be positively enlightening. Read with your friends. Another great way to practice is by giving free readings to your friends. If your friends are into tarot, and both get in some great practice with the added benefit of learning from each other, your friends have a unique perspective on your situation and can provide great insight into your life's questions. Just remember that they're as susceptible to their biases as you are to yours. The magic touch. You'll have to decide for yourself who can and cannot touch your tarot cards. You may have heard that you're never to allow someone else to pick up your cards, lest your deck soak up that person's vibes and become energetically infected, so to speak. I don't subscribe to this belief personally. I like having others interact with my deck when I read for them. I invite my querents to shuffle the deck and choose their cards themselves because I want the cards to interact with the querent's energy, not mine. This decision is entirely up to you, and there are benefits to both practices. If you don't let anyone else touch your cards, you may find you have to cleanse them less often. Try both rules out for yourself and see which one suits you best, or a combination of the two. Shuffling the deck. Shuffling your deck is not optional, but there are many ways to do it. I like to ask the querent to shuffle the deck, or do so myself if I'm reading for myself, while meditating on a query or situation. Some cards are very fragile or large and thick, making them difficult or impossible to shuffle like traditional playing cards. You may opt to lay your cards out one by one in piles on a surface, then distribute these piles again one by one to randomize the order of the cards. However you decide to shuffle, I suggest you ensure the cards are thoroughly mixed up before each and every reading. Choosing your cards. Once shuffled, you may choose to cut the deck and draw cards off the top, or to spread the cards out in a fan and choose from among them. As I said, I like to let the querent choose their own cards, but you may prefer to pick them yourself or keep things simple. When choosing a card, I let my hand hover over the fan deck and sense where there is energy calling to me. Should a card present itself? Occasionally, a stray card will tumble out of the deck when you're shuffling, or stick to the card you've drawn so that 2 cards are pulled instead of 1. I think these are significant, and I always heed them. You may find that you feel differently, but let your instincts guide you. Chapter 4: The Art of the Spread. Do you find tarot spreads intimidating? Do you struggle with those big, elaborate Celtic crosses and so-called mirror spreads? Do you feel like the questions you're asking the cards aren't really getting at the heart of what you want to know or what's relevant to you right now? If so, I have an elegant solution for you. Just like card interpretations, I believe that tarot spreads are best done, you guessed it, intuitively. Think about it. Holding fast to someone else's idea of the questions you should be asking is more likely to confuse you or offer poor guidance than if you were to ask your own questions. Furthermore, you don't always need 10 or 16 cards to get the whole picture. More often than not, short and sweet is the way to go. The deeper into the weeds you get, the less you're likely to authentically glean. Your spreads should be flexible. As you read, you can pull additional cards to answer new questions that come to mind. And you can stop when you feel a card has revealed the truth of the matter or a question that cannot be answered at this time. As with all things in divination, trust your gut. The more you practice listening to that inner voice, the more clearly you will hear it. Still, much like learning the symbols in the cards helps us unlock our intuition about their meanings, knowing the basic building blocks of tarot spreads will serve you well in crafting your own. And so I present 3 ultra-simple, highly adaptable spreads for you to practice with, as well as ideas to get your creative juices flowing. Single card spreads. Pulling a single card can be highly effective as a reading. I recommend it especially when you don't have much time to devote. If you can find 5 minutes, you can pull a card for yourself or a loved one and get your daily practice in. But a single card can also be the perfect jumping-off point for a longer reading, especially if you remember to turn to your tarot journal and remind yourself of what this card has meant to you in past readings. You're likely to get a glimmer of something, and from there, you may choose to ask the cards another clarifying question. Before long, you may find that you've developed an entire 10-card spread intuitively from a single starting point. For a 1-card spread, ask yourself what you or the querent really need to know at the moment. Here are some ideas. I suggest you start your own list of single-card questions in your tarot journal so that you can refer back to the ones that work best for you. Like, what message do I need to hear right now? What awaits me today? What can I accomplish? Where am I coming from in my perspective of this situation? Show me something to look forward to. What do I need to keep in mind to protect myself? Where do I need to work on myself? What qualities do I need to strengthen in me or let go of? 3-card spreads. 3-card spreads are my favorite. They are simple, quick, and adaptable. You'll pretty much always just lay 3 cards out side by side in the order you pull them. Although, if your instincts tell you to lay the cards out differently, listen. You can always turn a 3-card spread into a 4 or more card spread if your gut tells you to draw another. I'm infamous for saying, "One more card to clarify the message." Here are some ideas for 3-card spreads. As before, I suggest you come up with your own and note them down in your journal. The classic. 1. Past. 2. Present. And 3. Future. The update. 1. Energies that brought you here. 2. The problem you face. And 3. The solution in front of you. Self-care central. 1. What my body is asking for. 2. What my heart wants. And 3. What my mind knows to be true. Down to business. 1. The situation at hand. 2. Action to take. And 3. What the outcome will be. Seeing the future. 1. Your unrealized potential. 2. The challenges you'll face. And 3. The help you'll need to overcome them. For new romance. 1. What I bring to the relationship. 2. What they bring to the relationship. And 3. Where the relationship is heading. And for long-term relationships. 1. What brought you together. 2. What threatens to pull you apart. And 3. What needs your attention. 4 or more cards. Once you have 4 or more cards in your spread, the layout can get a little more complex. I still recommend keeping it simple. I like 2 rows of 2, a diamond or pyramid shape, or a circle of 6 cards. I lay the cards out intuitively based on the questions I am asking. For example, if I'm trying to see past influences, the foundation of an issue, or physical and financial perspectives, I'll place the card on the bottom of the layout. I might place cards that represent obstacles or rewards over top other cards, crossing them, and cards that represent coming together between or overlapping 2 others. It's all up to you. There's no particular meaning to it other than what feels right and what brings you clarity as you interpret the cards. That's why simple is always best. Another thing you can do with larger spreads is use signifier cards. These are cards chosen to represent the querent or other people in the querent's life. You pull them intentionally from the deck before you shuffle and draw cards. You lay the signifier down first, then place the remaining cards on the top or around it. This may help you focus on the energy of the querent. It's entirely optional, but I find it useful when performing a reading with lots of players involved. And now here you are, equipped with everything you need only to begin your own tarot practice, but to get truly good at it. It's all in your hands now. Once again, the keys are keeping up with the practice and recording your practice in your tarot journal. In the next chapter, I'll walk you through the symbolism of the cards so that as you come across them, your intuition will be primed to interpret their importance in a reading. With these tools, you're well on your way to mastery. Chapter 5. Arcane Secrets. The symbolism in the cards. Tarot is nothing if not its symbolism. The symbols on the cards are the language in which the tarot speaks to us. The artwork on each card paints a scene, but taken literally, these pretty pictures share only a hint of a card's full story. Studying the symbolism behind the card imagery is your #1 secret weapon for reading tarot cards intuitively, which, as you remember, is the only way to deliver an authentic reading. If you can learn to recognize these symbols, they will trigger your intuition when you see them in the cards you're reading, helping you to put the pieces of your gut feelings together into a cohesive story for the querent. When we talk about the imagery in the cards, I'll be referring to the Rider-Waite or Rider-Waite-Smith deck unless otherwise noted. Spiritual symbolism. Many of the symbolic elements in the tarot, especially in the major arcana cards, are spiritual in nature. Highly eclectic, these symbols draw from a variety of ancient religious texts and occult practices. You'll find the Archangel Gabriel on one card and the Egyptian god Anubis on the other. The four elements. The four universal elements are fire, water, air, and earth. These were the pre-Socratic elements of both science and philosophy in ancient Greece, somewhat akin to modern science's periodic table, though thankfully much shorter. These universal elements are referenced in many spiritual systems, as every bit of matter and energy in the universe can be represented in one of them. The four suits of the tarot correspond to these elements. Each card in the suit reflects the energy inherent in its element. Fire is wands, energetic and expansive, of the spiritual realm, inspiration and inspired action. Water is cups, intuitive and fluid, related to the emotional realm, personal feelings, and relationships with others. Air is swords, swift and cutting, concerned with the intellectual realm, knowledge, power, and change. And earth is pentacles, grounded and secure, rooted in the physical realm, money and worldly well-being. The zodiac. The symbols of the zodiac appear throughout the cards, which is unsurprising, as tarot and astrology are strongly connected. The astrological influence is especially prevalent in the Thoth deck, but you won't miss it in the Rider-Waite. Several of the major arcana cards correspond to planets and their respective elements, and the signs, in turn, are ruled by the planets, like this. The Fool is Uranus, air, and it rules Aquarius. The Magician is Mercury, air, rules Gemini and Virgo. The High Priestess, the Moon, water, rules Cancer. The Empress, Venus, earth, rules Taurus and Libra. The Wheel of Fortune, Jupiter, fire, rules Sagittarius. The Hanged Man, Neptune, water, rules Pisces. The Tower, Mars, fire, rules Aries. The Sun, fire, rules Leo. Judgment, Pluto, fire, rules Scorpio. And the World, Saturn, earth, rules Capricorn. The zodiac signs relate strongly to the elements, much as the suits of the tarot do. In astrology, there are three modalities: cardinal, fixed, and mutable, for each of the four elements for a total of 12 zodiac signs, so the signs correspond as follows. Wands, fire, Aries, cardinal, Leo, fixed, and Sagittarius, mutable. Cups, water, Cancer, cardinal, Scorpio, fixed, Pisces, mutable. Swords, air, Gemini, mutable, Libra, cardinal, Aquarius, fixed. Pentacles, earth, Taurus, fixed, Virgo, mutable, and Capricorn, cardinal. Understanding how the cards correspond to zodiac signs can help you interpret their meanings based on what you know about the personalities of the signs. It's especially useful with court cards. If you know the zodiac sign that corresponds with a court card in your reading, you have a clue as to who in the querent's life that card may signify. A Scorpio may be coming into your love life, for example. Numerology. Numerology is the study of the mystical influence of numbers, fathered by mathematician and philosopher Pythagoras. in ancient Greece. The central tenet of numerology is that each single-digit number, 1 through 9, has a particular vibrational frequency, sending out characteristic energy into the universe. Tarot and numerology go hand in hand. Having a basic understanding of the meanings of numbers in numerology is key to learning intuitive tarot readings. By combining what you know about the elements of the cards with the correspondences to the number of the card, you can begin to sense a complete picture of the card's meaning without ever having to flip to the reference guide. Short and sweet meanings for each number are below. 1. Ace. Beginnings, opportunity, potential. 2. Balance. Partnership, duality. 3. Creativity, companionship, growth. 4. Structure, stability, manifestation. 5. Change, instability, conflict. 6. Communication, cooperation, harmony. 7. Reflection, assessment, knowledge. 8. Mastery, action, accomplishment. 9. Fruition, attainment, fulfillment. And 10. Completion, end of a cycle, renewal. Take, for example, the Three of Cups. You know that cups correspond to water, an element that flows freely. It represents emotions and relationships. The number 3 in numerology corresponds with creativity and partnership. It follows that the Three of Cups must represent abundance in relationships and free-flowing creativity. Try it for yourself. Pick an element and a number, and find the associated card. Write down in your journal what your hunch is for the card's meaning, even if you don't remember what the card looks like. Turn to Chapter 7 and check the guide to see how close you were. Judaism and Christianity. As you learned in Chapter 2, Kabbalah features prominently in the tarot, and the cards are rife with Christian symbolism because, when they were first minted, it was a universal language of the day. Beyond its relationship to gematria, a Jewish form of numerology that associates the Hebrew alphabet with specific numbers, there is ample Jewish symbolism in the cards. Hebrew letters appear, notably including the Tetragrammaton, or unpronounceable name of God. Many Christian symbols, both common and esoteric, appear in the cards as well. Here is a short list of some you may recognize and their interpretations. Angel, a divine messenger of wisdom, heralds change. Banners, victory and triumph, celebration. Bells, call to worship, joyfulness. Book or scroll, the Word of God, spiritual truths. Cup, the Holy Grail, the blood of Christ. Fish, faith, as in the story of loaves and fishes. Hands, can communicate prayer or blessing. Lion, power and authority, Christ. Torch, the light of God shining in the darkness. Trumpet, resurrection, the day of judgment. And wand, like the staff of the Good Shepherd. Archetypes. An archetype is a sort of psychological symbol. Originally an ancient Greek idea, archetypes were popularized in the 1900s by psychologist Carl Jung, who posited that each one represents something innate to the human experience, such that everyone can inherently recognize its meaning. Archetypes exist within all of us, and they are a powerful storytelling tool. We may have different names for these archetypes and different examples in our popular cultures, but we understand the meaning of these symbols regardless. Each card in the major arcana is, itself, an archetype. Take a look at the list below and consider where else you see these archetypes represented. in movies, books, pantheons, and even in your day-to-day life. The Fool, child, carefree ignorance. The Magician, wizard, a mystic who can manipulate reality, like Gandalf. The High Priestess, witch, psychic powers and feminine magic, like Hecate. The Empress, mother, nurturing power, like Queen Elizabeth II. The Emperor, father, authoritarian power. The Hierophant, priest, religious authority, like the Pope. The Lovers, soulmates, a grand love affair, like Romeo and Juliet. The Chariot, champion, success and victory. Strength, hero, a great feat, like Hercules. The Hermit, acolyte, isolation and study, like a monk. Wheel of Fortune, chance, the unpredictable. Justice, judge, the rule of law. The Hanged Man, martyr, self-sacrifice, like Jesus Christ. Death, death, finality, like the Grim Reaper. Temperance, the passage of time, like time heals all wounds. The Devil, monster, deformed with evilness, like Voldemort. The Tower, great storm, brings destruction. The Star, true north, a guiding light, like the North Star. The Moon, the inner self, the subconscious. The Sun, life giver, like God, photosynthesis, and summer harvest. Judgment, decision, a turning point. And the world, globe, all-encompassing and universal. The Court Cards. The Court Cards, Page, Knight, Queen, and King, also represent archetypes. In a reading, these cards may represent actual people in the life of the querent, such as a love interest, a colleague, or a deceased loved one with a message. The position of the card in the spread, as well as your gut instinct, will tell you how this person is related to the querent or their question, while archetypes give you a clue as to this person's attributes. The court cards can also represent a querent themselves or the different aspects of a querent's personality as they relate to the situation in question. Here again, your intuition and the layout of your spread will help you determine this. Some traditional tarot books will give you specific physical qualities of the person represented by each card, such as hair color, eye color, and gender. These types of descriptions inhibit the use of your own intuition. Think about it. If you're waiting for an intelligent man to disrupt your professional life because you drew the Knight of Swords, let alone waiting on a man with gray hair and blue eyes, you're not going to consider that the cards might have referred to your new boss, who is a woman, and you'll brush her off. Archetypes are a much clearer way to interpret the court cards as people. Here are some of the archetypes associated with each court card in a suit. Page, a young person, or young at heart. A student, someone who is new on the scene or brings fresh perspective. The inner child. Knight, a younger adult or adult. A business person. An adversary or powerful friend. A go-getter. Internal drive. Queen, a woman or feminine energy. A mother or nurturer. An artist, the divine feminine. And King, a man or masculine energy. A father or authority figure. An older adult. Mastery and maturity. The significance of color. Like the numbers 1 through 9 in numerology, each color in the spectrum gives off unique energy vibrations. Color is light itself and is, in essence, made of energy, making color significant in many spiritual practices, ancient and new. The colors in the tarot cards are not arbitrary. They signify specific characteristics that are associated energetically with that color of visible light. Understanding the symbolism of color helps you unlock another layer of meaning in the cards, without having to look the card up in the back of the book. As you look through the cards in the deck, you'll notice that each of the 4 suits has a dominant color scheme. These colors reflect the universal elements associated with each suit and set the mood for the card, giving us a flavor of those elemental energies. For example, wand cards often contain a lot of fiery reds, oranges, and yellows, calling to mind warmth and vivacity. On the other hand, sword cards are often pale gray, pale blue, and white, imparting a more reserved and chilly energy. Notice the prominent symbols in each card and their colors. Here's a list of common color associations that you will encounter in the cards. Red, physical energy, strength, courage, sexuality, aggression. Orange, passion, enthusiasm, ambition, warmth, sociability. Yellow, intellect, confidence, self-esteem, communication, and rationality. Green, prosperity, wealth, health, peace, and fertility. Blue, spirituality, intuition, healing, the subconscious, and somberness. Purple, royalty, leadership, psychic powers, compassion, and teaching. White, innocence, purity, faith, protection, and clarity. Gray, dullness, depression, uniformity, emptiness, and coldness. Black, mystery, negativity, protection, mourning, and power. Brown, stability, stagnation, material goods, foundations, and wholesomeness. Remember that your intuition is key. Copy this list of colors in your tarot journal and begin to record your own emotional responses to the colors. This will serve you better in readings than any dictionary definition. Changing times, changing symbols. The Rider-Waite deck is many years old now, and the symbolism in it is older still. As the world changes, and it is changing very quickly these days, so too do our cultural symbols. Gone are the days of castles made of stone, regents on thrones, and racing chariots, replaced by brick homes, executives behind desks, and Teslas. Many artists have taken up the challenge of redesigning the cards to reflect our new world, creating entirely new imagery with the intention of communicating the same interpretation. Symbolism isn't universal either. It varies by culture, even in this day and age of worldwide connectivity. You can find tarot decks adapted to a variety of spiritual systems, each with its own unique symbolism. While this makes interpreting cards a bit more of a challenge due to their differences, it also significantly expands the possibilities of what you can glean from a reading. And it connects people to tarot who may never have seen themselves or their ancestors in the Rider-Waite cards. Personal correspondences. Every time you conduct a reading, write down your observations and interpretations in your tarot journal. Don't just include what you remember from this chapter. Let associations come to you and ensure that you record them. Over time, you'll begin to notice patterns. Maybe religious figures appear in many readings representing your parents. Maybe you tend to see wands when you're feeling restless in your relationship. By taking notes of these patterns, you're building your own dictionary of symbols in the cards. This is an indispensable resource for intuitive reading, much more powerful than what I've given you in chapters 6 and 7. Recognizing your own personal correspondences in the cards will help your readings feel more natural and encourage you to confidently share your interpretations with the querent. In this chapter, you learned everything you need to interpret the tarot cards without referencing the guide. Don't worry if it didn't all stick. It's a lot of information, and you'll build up these associations over time. Next, we'll cover the descriptions and meanings of the 22 cards in the major arcana. I've saved this in the minor arcana for the end of the book because the knowledge you've gleaned from these first chapters is foundational to interpreting the cards. Chapter 6. The Cards of the Major Arcana. Throughout the book, I've harped on you about using your intuition rather than relying on reference sources. The written card interpretations are here to guide you, but they are not the end-all be-all. The more you learn to let go and trust the meanings that come to you during a reading, the better your readings will be. How to use this guide. Listen through the guide once, as it is to familiarize yourself with the imagery of the Rider-Waite deck. As you go through it, make note of any observations that jump out at you in your tarot journal. I suggest having a page or half page in your journal dedicated to each card that you add to as you learn. Every time you practice tarot reading, return to your journal and write down what you gleaned intuitively about each individual card during the reading. If the card reminds you of a specific situation or person in your life, make note of this. If you see a card returning over and over again when you ask about a certain problem you are facing, note this too. Over time, you'll build your own personalized dictionary of intuitive card meanings to accompany the standard descriptions I've provided. The act of writing these observations down will help you commit them to memory, so that intuiting the wisdom of each reading becomes more and more natural to you. This is the secret of tarot mastery, and I leave it in your hands. The 22 cards of the major arcana are trump cards, and as such, they trump the minor arcana in influence when they appear in a reading. These cards represent major life lessons and the significant karmic influences over your situation. The cards of the major arcana represent the journey of the Fool, the card numbered 0. The Fool travels through each of the trump cards, learning karmic lessons along the way. He reaches the end of his journey at number 21, the World. When you see these cards in a reading, know that their influence will outlast any of the other surrounding minor arcana cards. In fact, its influence is so great that a major arcana card in your reading sets the mood for the entire interpretation, and the meanings of surrounding minor arcana cards often feed into and support the message of the trump card. If a reading turns up mostly major arcana cards, heed it. This indicates major life changes that will have lasting karmic effects. Pay attention to the lessons each card has to teach you. Just as they teach the Fool on his journey of spiritual evolution, they will guide you to better yourself and navigate these life changes gracefully. 0. The Fool. A young man stands at the edge of a cliff, gazing up in wonder, unaware of the precipice on which he stands. He carries over his shoulder a small knapsack containing everything he needs. At his feet is a white dog, his guide who charges him forward, and in his hand is a white rose symbolic of his innocence and purity. The mountains in the distance represent the challenges the Fool will face, but at the moment, he doesn't have a care in the world. Upright means new beginnings and innocence, free-spiritedness, spontaneity, and travel. Inverse means risk-taking and recklessness. Alternatively, analysis paralysis and stagnation. 1. The Magician. The magician points one arm down to the earth and the other up to the universe, representing the connection between material and spiritual worlds. As the conduit between them, the magician manipulates spiritual energy to manifest his earthly goals. On his altar are the 4 suits of the tarot: a cup, a coin, a sword, and a wand. He has all the tools he needs. The Ouroboros around his waist and the infinity symbol that halos his head symbolize his unlimited potential, and the blossoming flowers around him represent his dreams coming to fruition. Upright means manifestation and power, resourcefulness and inspiration. Inverse means wasted talents or hidden motives. 2. The High Priestess. The High Priestess sits ahead of a veil decorated with pomegranates. The veil symbolizes the space between conscious and subconscious. And pomegranates recall the story of Persephone, a symbol of the divine feminine. On either side of her are 2 pillars, black and white, representing duality. Only the worthy may enter this sacred space. She wears a blue robe and a horned crown, representing her divine wisdom and spiritual leadership. She holds a partially obscured scroll as keeper of sacred knowledge, and the moon at her feet represents intuition. Upright means the divine feminine and sacred wisdom, intuition and the subconscious. Inverse means loss of intuitive power and secrets untold. Number 3. The Empress. The Empress sits upon a luxurious pile of cushions, one of which bears the symbol of the planet Venus, the planet of love and beauty. She wears a crown of 12 stars, representing the natural cycles of the earth, such as the 12 months of the year. Her robe is decorated with pomegranates, symbols of femininity and fertility. Surrounded by lush greenery and a bountiful harvest, abundance is the Empress's gift. Upright means fertility and abundance, either literal or figurative, creativity and nurturing. Inverse means dependence on others and a creative block. 4. The Emperor. The Emperor sits on a throne of stone decorated with 4 heads of rams, representing Mars, the planet of war. He wears a red robe indicating his power and passion over a suit of protective armor. With his golden crown and long, white beard, he is a commanding figure of wisdom and authority. He holds an ankh, the Egyptian symbol for life, and an orb, which represents the world that he rules over. He is backed by a range of impenetrable mountains, but a small stream runs through, representing the Emperor's hidden emotional side. Upright means authority and establishment, a father figure. And inverse means domination and control, inflexibility and stubbornness. 5. The Hierophant. The masculine counterpart of the High Priestess, the Hierophant is a pope and a teacher. He sits between 2 sacred pillars and wears 3 robes, red, blue, and white, and a crown with 3 tiers representing the 3 worlds he rules over: the conscious, subconscious, and superconscious. He holds a cross in one hand, the other raised in blessing, 2 fingers pointing to the universe and 2 at the earth. 2 followers kneel before him, and the crossed keys at his feet symbolize the unlocking of mysteries. Upright means religious institution, conformity, and tradition. Inverse means unorganized religion, and challenging the status quo. 6. The Lovers. A naked man and woman stand beneath an angel who represents healing and divinely blesses the couple's union. Behind the woman is an apple tree, a serpent wrapped around the trunk, like the story of Eve in the Garden of Eden. This symbolizes the temptation of worldly pleasures. Behind the man is a tree made of 12 flames, representing his passion, and the volcano in the background promises the release of that passion. Upright means love and sex, harmony in relationships. And inverse means self-love, disharmony, and imbalance. 7. The Chariot. A brave warrior stands firm in the chariot, wearing a suit of armor decorated with the waxing moon, representative of that which is coming to fruition. He is decorated in alchemical symbols, indicating spiritual transformation. His crown of laurel and stars symbolizes victory. In front of him are a pair of sphinxes, one black and one white, a duality of opposing forces that together pull the chariot forward. The charioteer does not hold the reins. He uses his willpower alone to move the chariot forward. Behind him flows a river, representing his ability to go with the flow. Upright means action and movement, strength of will and determination, success. Inverse means lack of direction and opposing forces. 8. Strength. A woman strokes a lion gently on his head. She has tamed this dangerous beast with her loving energies. The lion symbolizes passion and inner desires. In taming him, she teaches us that inner strength can channel raw passion into success. Strength wears a white robe and a crown of flowers, representing her purity and the beauty of nature. Like the magician, she is haloed by the infinity symbol. There is no end to her might. Upright means strength and courage, influence and persuasion. Inverse means self-doubt, raw, unbridled emotions, and lack of inner strength. 9. The Hermit. Standing alone on a snowy mountain, the range around him representing mastery and accomplishment, the hermit is on a path of self-discovery, and he has accomplished much on his journey. In his right hand, he carries a lantern containing a 6-pointed star, a symbol of wisdom. The lamp lights the hermit's way, but it can only illuminate his next few steps. He must continue on to see where the path takes him. Wisdom cannot be revealed all at once, but must be sought. In his left hand, he holds a staff symbolizing authority. It guides him and helps him keep his balance. Upright means introspection, inner guidance, and soul-searching, isolation. Inverse means loneliness and withdrawal. 10. The Wheel of Fortune. A giant wheel graces this card. 4 winged figures in the corners associated with the 4 fixed signs of the zodiac. Their wings signal their stability in the winds of change, and each holds a scroll of great wisdom. On the wheel is inscribed the name of God and alchemical symbols that represent creation. The snake on the left side of the wheel represents evil descending into the material world, and the Egyptian god of death, Anubis, rises from the right side of the wheel to welcome the dead to the afterlife. Atop the wheel is the Sphinx, representing great strength. Upright means karma and destiny, a turning point in the cycle of life. And inverse means breaking cycles or resistance to change. 11. Justice. Like the high priestess, justice sits in front of a veil and between two pillars. This veil is purple, representing compassion, while the pillars symbolize order. She holds a sword in her right hand with which to dispense justice. In her left hand, she holds the scales that balance logic and intuition, a symbol of impartialness. She wears a crown with a square, indicating that her mind is well organized, and a red robe. Her white shoe, which shows just slightly from beneath her clothing, is a reminder of the spiritual consequences of our worldly actions. Upright means cause and effect, law, truth, and fairness. Inverse means unfairness and dishonesty. 12. The Hanged Man. The hanged man is suspended upside down from a cross of live wood. Viewing the world from this new perspective, his expression is serene, and the halo around his head represents enlightenment. He appears to be hanging by his own choice. His right foot is bound to the cross, but his left is free. His arms are bent, forming an inverted triangle with his hands behind his back. He wears red pants, meaning worldly passion, and a blue vest, meaning knowledge. Upright means total surrender and letting go, a break or pause, new perspectives. Inverse means resistance and stagnation, stalling or delays due to indecision. 13. Death. Death is represented as a skeleton in black armor riding a pale horse. His bones symbolize that which survives after life has left the body, and his armor is invincible. None shall escape death. He carries a black flag decorated with a white rose, meaning purity, with 5 petals, the number of change. Beneath the hooves of death's horse, a royal figure lies dead, while others plead with death to be spared. A boat floats down the river behind them, carting souls to the afterlife, and on the horizon, the sun is setting between 2 towers. As it will rise again in the morning, so too does death lead to rebirth. Upright means endings, transformation, and transition. Inverse means resistance to change. 15. Temperance. An androgynous angel stands on this card, wearing a light blue robe emblazoned with a triangle, representing humanity, surrounded by a square for the natural laws that bind us. Temperance is balanced with 1 foot on the rocks and 1 in the water, and is pouring water between 2 cups, representing the flow of life. Behind Temperance, a path winds up a mountain. In the sky above the mountain, a golden crown floats, glowing. This tells us the mountain path is the high road. Upright means patience, moderation, and balance. Inverse means excess, imbalance, and haste. 15. The Devil. The devil is a horned creature with bat wings, half man and half goat. Above him is the inverted pentagram, representing the triumph of the earth over heaven, the self over the spirit. The devil raises his right hand in blessing, and in his left, he holds a torch. 2 naked slaves, a man and a woman, are chained loosely at his feet. Both of them sport horns and tails indicative of their animal instincts. The woman's tail ends in a bunch of grapes, symbolizing earthly pleasure, while the man's ends in flames, a symbol of lust. Upright means the shadow side of the self, addiction, and holding oneself back. Inverse means detachment or breaking boundaries. 16. The Tower. The scene is all chaos and destruction. The tower sits atop a rocky mountain peak during a vivacious black storm. Lightning strikes the tower, and 2 people fall from its upper windows. The lightning knocks a golden crown from the top of the tower, radiating electric energy. The tower itself, however, stands tall and strong. Upright means total upheaval of one's life, a sudden and difficult change, a major revelation. Inverse means fear of change and a major inner shift. 17. The star. The star shines brightly in the night sky, surrounded by 7 more that represent the 7 chakras. Beneath the star is a naked woman kneeling at the edge of a pond, holding 2 vessels of water. She pours the one in her left hand back into the water, and the vessel in her right hand spills onto the earth, continuing the cycle of fertility that is symbolized by the lush greenery around her. The water from the right vessel hits the ground in 5 rivulets, representing the 5 earthly senses. Like Temperance, this woman has 1 foot on the ground and 1 in the water, representing the balance between practicality and intuition, the worldly and the spiritual. Upright means hope and faith, spiritual renewal. Inverse means lost faith, despair, and directionlessness. 18. The moon. The moon hangs in the night sky between 2 tall towers. It is a symbol of intuition and dreams. A dog and a wolf howl at the moon, one tamed and one wild, both called by its light. In the foreground is a pool of water bathed in the dim glow of the moon, the subconscious mind. A crawfish crawls from the pool onto land, representing the beginning of consciousness as it emerges from the mind's depths. Upright means illusion, emotions, particularly fear and anxiety, intuition and the subconscious self. Inverse means repressed emotions or inner turmoil. 19. The sun. The sun shines brightly above a joyful, naked child representing purity, who rides a white horse meant to show strength. The horse trots calmly forward while the child waves a red banner. Both the horse and the child, in his nudity, represent innocence. Behind them, 4 tall sunflowers grow above a wall of brick. They represent the 4 elements and the 4 suits of the tarot. Upright means vitality, positivity, joy, and playfulness. Inverse means misplaced optimism or negative emotions. 20. Judgment. The Archangel Gabriel sounds his trumpet, and people rise naked from their graves, looking up towards him with their arms stretched wide. They are ready for judgment, to discover whether or not they will enter heaven. In the background of the scene, an insurmountable mountain range sprawls. One cannot avoid judgment. Upright means judgment or absolution, an inner calling, spiritual rebirth. Inverse means ignoring a call from the universe, self-criticism, and seeds of doubt. And finally, 21. The world. The world is represented by a woman wrapped in a violet cloth, surrounded by a wreath of laurel, a ring with no end. The woman is looking behind her towards the past, while her body propels her forward into the future. She holds 2 wands like the magician. What the magician manifested at the beginning of the fool's journey has come full circle now with the world. The naked woman steps through the wreath, and the cycle begins again. Around the wreath fly 4 winged figures similar to those in the Wheel of Fortune. They are symbolic of the 4 fixed signs of the zodiac, the 4 elements, the 4 suits of the tarot, the 4 seasons of the earth, the 4 corners of the universe. They guide the woman into her next revolution. Upright means completion and accomplishment, travel. Inverse means taking shortcuts and delays. Chapter 7. The Cards of the Minor Arcana. The minor arcana comprise 4 suits of 14 cards each: wands, cups, swords, and pentacles. The cards in each suit are numbered 1 or ace through 10, plus 4 court cards: the page, the knight, the queen, and the king, in ascending order. As you learned in Chapter 5, each of the 4 suits represents one of the 4 elements and corresponds to a suit in a standard deck of playing cards. Numerology plays heavily in the minor arcana, and each suit from ace to 10 represents a cycle of spiritual growth, much the same as the minor arcana does. Some say that the other 13 cards in a suit spring from the ace, just like the cards of the major arcana arise from the fool's journey. In a reading, the cards of the minor arcana have a less profound influence on events than those of the major arcana. In the sense of time, the challenges presented by the minor arcana will pass shortly. Many tarot readers take the court cards as representative of people in the querent's life. These cards can also be understood as one aspect of the self. You can use a court card for your own signifier too, as discussed in Chapter 4. It seems daunting, the task of remembering the meanings for all 56 cards. Remember that your goal is not to memorize their meanings, but to intuit their significance in a reading. You'll learn to do so through practice. Rely on your tarot journal and review the concepts in Chapter 5 until they become second nature. You shouldn't depend on these card definitions. Still, it's vital that you have them here to refer to. The Suit of Wands. The Suit of Wands corresponds to the element of fire, and like fire, the wands carry primal energy. This energy can be both powerfully creative and destructive. Fire is a masculine or yang element. The zodiac signs ruled for fire are Aries, Leo, and Sagittarius. Wands correspond to clubs in traditional playing cards. Decks that vary from the Rider-Waite format may refer to wands as batons, clubs, staffs, or staves, but they all refer to the same suit. The cards in the suit of wands often reflect the core of your being and address the issues that really make you tick. If a card reading shows mostly wands, it indicates that there is considerable action and advancement happening in the situation at question. Positive characteristics are spirituality, inspiration, strength, creativity, expansion, progress, determination, originality, and enthusiasm. The negative characteristics are egoism, impulsivity, directionlessness, and meaninglessness. Ace of Wands. A divine hand reaches from the clouds, holding in it a single wand made of live wood. Green leaves grow from the wand, and the rich landscape echoes the symbol of creation. Rolling hills and mountain ridges await on the horizon to be traveled. In the distance is a castle, which promises rewards to come. Upright means inspiration and motivation, new opportunities, and personal growth. Inverse means distractions and delays, or an idea not yet fully formed. Two of Wands. A man stands within his castle dressed in a red robe and hat. He is holding a small globe in contemplation. He's got the whole world in his hand. His hand rests on one wand, while the second still waits against the wall of the castle. The man is not yet ready to commence his journey. The land behind the castle is fertile, if not a bit rocky, suggesting his travels will be well met. Upright means planning for future action, an awesome discovery, and decisions to be made. Inverse means lack of planning and preparedness, analysis paralysis. 3 of Wands. A man wearing green and red robes stands at a cliff, his back turned to us. Around him are 3 wands rooted into the ground, standing tall and representing the man's commitment. He has journeyed from his castle in the 2 of Wands and now looks over the water to faraway mountains. 3 ships sail past, meaning progress. From his stance on the cliff, the man can see every opportunity and obstacle that awaits him. Upright means expansion and progress, travel, especially of great distances, and foresight into future plans. Inverse means a lack of foresight, or alternatively, playing it safe. 4 of Wands. A beautiful wreath of flowers and grapes, symbolizing abundance, decorates 4 wands firmly planted in the ground, creating an arch. A happy couple dances, radiating joy in the background beneath the arch, bouquets of flowers in their hands. Further away in front of a castle gathers a large crowd, representing family and home. Upright means celebration or a homecoming, joy and peace. Inverse means external conflict, a lack of harmony in relationships, and alternatively, a private celebration. 5 of Wands. 5 men are fighting each other with batons, each dressed in a unique outfit to represent their diversity of background and ideology. This suggests that their differences are preventing them from finding harmony. If you look closely, you'll see that the men have raised their wands, but no one has yet made the first strike. Violence could yet be averted. Upright means discord and disagreement, competition, and heightened tensions. Inverse means inner conflict and alternatively, conflict avoidance. 6 of Wands. A man rides a decorated white horse, representing strength and purity, through a cheering crowd. He wears a wreath of laurel on his head and holds a wreathed wand upright, symbolizing victory. The crowd around him, carrying 4 more wands, indicates recognition of his successes. The man looks straight ahead, confident and courageous. Upright means public recognition, success, and confidence. Inverse means a fall from grace, a success kept to oneself, and an ego trip. 7 of Wands. A man stands fighting off intruders at the edge of an embankment. He wields a wand, pushing down and away at 6 batons as the attackers advance. We do not see the attackers themselves, as the man has the high ground. He is protecting his home turf. Look closely, and you'll see that the man is wearing 2 unmatching shoes. Perhaps he is unsure of himself or where he stands. Upright means protecting oneself or loved ones, a great advantage. And inverse means overwhelm and exhaustion, giving up the fight. 8 of Wands. There are no human figures in the 8 of Wands. Only the wands themselves are pictured, slicing diagonally across the air, suggesting great movement and swiftness. The sky is clear, and a blue river rushes past the lush green grass of the scene. Upright means fast-paced action or a sudden development. Inverse means inaction and resistance, frustration over delays. 9 of Wands. An injured man, wrapped in bandages, clutches his wand and glares over his shoulder at 8 more wands lined up behind him. The wands stand tall, but the man looks weathered and weary, suggesting that he has already been through difficult battles. Yet, more await him, and his strength and endurance are being put to the test. Upright means resilience and persistence, a test of faith. The battle is almost over. Inverse means inner struggle, self-pity, and perhaps paranoia. The 10 of Wands. A man pushes forward, carrying a heavy load of 10 bundled wands toward a small village in the near distance. He is hunched over with the effort of exertion, but the sight of his destination so near at hand compels him forward. Upright means the hard work is almost over, responsibility. And inverse means carrying unnecessary burdens, release. Page of Wands. A young man stands still, firmly holding upright a wooden staff with both hands, his gaze fixed on the sprouting leaves at the top of the wand. He wears a white hat adorned with a red feather and a yellow tunic decorated with salamanders, a symbol of fire and transformation. In him, there is great potential. You can see the light of inspiration in his eyes, but he has not yet made a step forward. The landscape appears hot and dry. Upright means unbounded potential, inspiration, or new ideas. Inverse means limiting oneself or holding oneself back. Knight of Wands. A knight sits atop a rearing brown horse. He has the reins and is in control of the action. He wears a yellow robe of salamanders over his shining armor, and fiery red feathers plume from his helmet. He wields a living staff in his right hand, symbolizing enthusiasm for his next adventure. The landscape is barren with mountains in the distance. Upright means inspired action, energy and passion, and adventure, while inverse means impulsivity, haste, and scattered energy rather than focused passion. Queen of Wands. The Queen of Wands wears a golden crown and a yellow robe. She is seated in a tall-backed throne decorated with red lions, symbolizing fire as well as strength. And like the other court cards, she brandishes a single upright wand. In her left hand, decorating her crown, and in the background are sunflowers, symbols of joy, life, and fertility. But a black cat sits patiently at the foot of her throne, suggesting that this queen draws power from her shadow self as well. Upright means confidence and courage, independence and social energy, while inverse means self-respect and introversion. King of Wands. As his queen, the King of Wands sits on a tall-backed throne decorated with lions. His throne is golden, his robe red. On his yellow cloak is a pattern of salamanders eating their own tails. The Ouroboros, the never-ending, which represent the king's relentless determination and unstoppable energy. Upright means visionary leadership, entrepreneurship, and honor, while inverse means impulsivity and the disappointment of unmet high expectations. The Suit of Cups. The Suit of Cups corresponds to the element of water. Water is highly adaptable, from rushing, powerful rivers to cool, calm pools. It is tied to our emotions and intuition, and like the falling rain cleanses our bodies, water can be powerfully healing. Water is a feminine or yin element. The zodiac signs ruled by water are Cancer, Scorpio, and Pisces. Cups correspond to hearts in traditional playing cards. Decks that vary from the Rider-Waite format may refer to cups as goblets, chalices, or even bottles, anything that serves as a water-holding vessel. The cards in the suit of cups often refer to situations in which your heart rules over your head. If a card reading shows mostly wands, it indicates that the conflict in question is personal and emotional in nature. Cup cards often refer to relationships, platonic and romantic. Its positive characteristics are relationships, healing, intuition, femininity, emotions, fluidity, agility, imagination, and fantasy. Its negative characteristics are repressed or all-consuming feelings, lack of creativity, and unrealistic expectations. Ace of Cups. A divine hand reaches from the clouds, holding in it a single golden chalice from which 5 streams overflow. A white dove is in mid-flight, appearing to dive into the cup, a coin in its beak. Here, the cup represents the subconscious mind, the streams, the 5 senses, and the bird and the coin, divine inspiration. Below the hand is a body of still water littered with lily pads, lotus blossoms, as they rise from the mud to bloom, represent awakening and transformation. Upright means new relationships, overflowing creativity or compassion. The inverse means self-love or repressed emotions. 2 of Cups. A man and a woman stand together, each with a chalice in hand. They are exchanging their cups, sharing their wine as they share their love. The man wears a crown of flowers, and the woman a crown of laurel. The couple has much to celebrate. The symbol floating above them in the sky is the caduceus of Hermes, a winged staff wrapped with snakes that, to the ancient Greeks, represented commerce and exchange. This caduceus, though, is topped with the head of a lion, suggesting an exchange of passionate, even sexual energy. Upright means partnership, marriage, and mutual attraction. The inverse means a breakup, disharmony, or mistrust. 3 of Cups. 3 young women dance joyfully together in a circle, their chalices raised high in the air, toasting to one another in celebration. They all wear flowers in their hair. At their feet lay fruits of the harvest, pumpkins, grapes, so much beauty and abundance. The sky is blissfully clear. Upright means joyful celebration or a party, friendship, and creative collaboration. The inverse means solitude or independence. 2's company, but 3's a crowd. 4 of Cups. A young man sits beneath a tree, his back to its trunk, his arms and legs crossed as if in meditation. Beside him, a disembodied hand offers him a chalice, but he does not appear to see this miracle. 3 more cups lie in a row at his feet, but he shows no interest. Upright means apathy or anhedonia. Can't see the forest through the trees. Alternatively, a meditative state. The inverse means reevaluation of one's wants and needs, retreat or withdrawal. 5 of Cups. A man in a black cloak stands with his head bowed under a gray sky. He is gazing listlessly down at 3 cups that have fallen or been knocked over, representing disappointment, loss, and failure. But behind the man are 2 more cups, standing upright and full of potential. The man is too blinded with self-pity to see these new opportunities. In the background, you can see a bridge over a flowing river, past which lies a distant home. Upright means pessimism, self-pity, and living in the past. The inverse means moving on and letting go. 6 of Cups. A gentle young boy passes a cup filled with flowers to a small girl, who looks up at him in love and admiration as she accepts his gift. 5 identical vases of flowers stand nearby. They are safe in their village, the sky above them clear. Behind the children, an older man can be spotted walking away, as if leaving youth behind him. Upright means nostalgia and reminiscence, reunion with someone from the past, and innocent love. The inverse means living in the past, a repressed inner child. 7 of Cups. A man stands in the foreground, shadowed by the shining light of the vision that appears before him. 7 chalices suspended in the clouds, each holding a unique offering. Some cups contain gifts, such as riches and wreaths of victorious laurel. Others hold dangerous monsters and strange visions. From what we can see of the man, he appears to be in shock and awe at the selection of cups. Upright means pushing past illusion or deception, making a thoughtful choice, and wishful thinking. The inverse means overwhelm and indecision. All is not as it seems. 8 of Cups. The moon shines in the night sky, watching over a man who is walking away from 8 chalices that stand stacked in the foreground. The man wears a red cloak and uses a walking stick to traverse the rocky road ahead of him. He seems weary, disheartened, perhaps secretive to be leaving in the dead of night. A calm river flows gently by, cutting through jagged mountains. Upright means avoidance, escapism, and abandonment. The inverse means fear of commitment and low self-esteem. 9 of Cups. A man sits with his arms crossed, smiling in contentment and satisfaction. Behind the man is an arched table draped with a blue cloth, atop which stand 9 cups lined neatly in a row. The bench on which the man sits is made of wood, suggesting that while he has found satisfaction, he cannot get too comfortable. Upright means wish fulfillment, dreams come true, and satisfaction. The inverse means overindulgence, materialism, and dissatisfaction. 10 of Cups. A couple stands together, embracing with one arm while they each wave the other in the sky as their 2 children play at their feet. Above them is a beautiful rainbow, atop of which are 10 full golden chalices, a blessing upon these people. Their home can be seen in the near distance, nestled among fertile hills. Upright means wish fulfillment, dreams come true, and satisfaction. The inverse means overindulgence, materialism, and dissatisfaction. Page of Cups. A young man stands on the shore, wearing a blue beret and tunic adorned in pink flowers. His long blue scarf flows behind him in the breeze like rushing water. He holds a cup in his right hand, from which, curiously enough, a fish pops up his head, representing creative inspiration. Upright means creative opportunities, intuitive vision, and curiosity. The inverse means a creative block, self-doubt, and out of touch with one's intuition. Knight of Cups. This knight rides an armored gray horse under a blue sky. His own armor is shining, and hermetic wings adorn his helm and ankles, a symbol of quickened communication. He holds out a golden chalice as though bearing a message of prosperity. His blue cloak is patterned in red fish, representing consciousness. His horse rides calmly and steadily forward. The scene around him is a barren rock save for the trees that grow by the river's edge in the distance, symbolizing creative power. Upright means romance, like Prince Charming, and imaginative creativity. The inverse means wearing rose-tinted glasses and feelings of jealousy or moodiness. Queen of Cups. The Queen of Cups is a beautiful woman seated on a throne made of stone and decorated with cherubic mermaids or sea nymphs. She wears a flowing white robe and sparkling, ornate golden crown. The sky behind her is clear and blue. The chalice in her hand is much more innately decorated than those pictured in other cards. It bears handles shaped like angels and a lid. This queen's power comes from within. Her throne is situated at the shore, and while the water laps gently below her, the queen's feet rest dry on pebbles, suggesting that she is steady and not swept up in emotion. Upright means compassion and care, emotional stability, and profound intuition. The inverse means self-care and self-love, alternatively, codependency. King of Cups. The King of Cups sits on his stone throne. It appears to be situated on a solid block in the middle of a stormy sea. The sky behind him is gray. He wears a blue tunic, his cape yellow, a small amulet of a fish around his neck. He holds a chalice in his right hand, symbolizing emotion, and a scepter in his left, symbolizing his power and authority. The king does not look at the cup in his hands. He has mastered his emotions and can turn attention elsewhere. A fish jumps up from the sea to his right, a red ship sailing the waves to his left. The king remains calm and in control. Upright means emotional maturity, balance of rationality and feeling, and compassionate leadership. The inverse means moodiness and emotional manipulation. The Suit of Swords. The Suit of Swords corresponds to the element of air. Air is unseen and untouchable, yet constantly in motion. Even when the wind seems still, the air dances around and through you. Air is a masculine or yang element, and the zodiac signs ruled by air are Gemini, Libra, and Aquarius. Swords correspond to spades in traditional playing cards. Decks that vary from the Rider-Waite format may refer to swords as knives or other sharp objects. The cards in the Suit of Swords deal with the intellectual realm. As swords are often double-edged, this suit contains both power and intellect. Swords often speak to change, and they can cut deeply. If a card reading shows mostly swords, it indicates that there is significant conflict, most likely intellectual in nature, or that decisions must be made. Its positive characteristics are intellect, reason, wisdom, power, force, logic, communication, and courage. Its negative characteristics are oppression, conflict, violence, and abuse. Ace of Swords. A disembodied hand reaches from a cloud and bears an upright sword with a wreathed crown at its tip, symbolizing victory. But the shining success of the adorned sword is tempered by the gray sky and dark, jagged mountains in the distance. The road to accomplishment in the Suit of Swords will be a difficult one. Upright means mental clarity or a breakthrough, great success. The inverse means rethinking an idea, a cloud in one's judgment. Two of Swords. A blindfolded woman wearing a white robe sits bearing two large crossed swords. The swords are balanced equally in her arms, representing the weighing of rational thought and analysis on both sides of a situation. But her blindfold tells us she is missing something. Behind her is a lake with rocky outcroppings. Water represents emotion, and the crescent moon above her in the night sky signals intuition. so intellect is not the full story here. Upright means a gravely important decision, an emotional or spiritual block. The inverse means information overload, a stalemate. 3 of Swords. A big red heart pierced with 3 swords floats in a gray, stormy sky. The clouds above let loose torrential rain. Upright means heartbreak, grief, and emotional suffering. The inverse means forgiveness and the releasing of pain, alternatively, self-inflicted hurts. 4 of Swords. The tomb of a knight lies in the foreground of a church, his visage expertly carved in its lid, hands raised in the prayer position. The tomb is cracked open slightly. 3 swords hang on the wall behind the casket, pointing down at the knight's head, while the 4th is not a real sword, but a decoration on the side of his tomb. On the wall of the church above the knight's feet is a stained glass window picturing a happy woman with a child. Upright means release from suffering, rest and recuperation. The inverse means death or illness, exhaustion or burnout. 5 of Swords. A man stands in a green tunic and red shirt, carrying 2 swords aloft in his right hand, pointing to the sky. With his left hand, he grasped the handle of a 3rd sword whose point rests on the ground. The man has a sly, satisfied look on his face as he watches 2 men walk away from him in a slouch. Their 2 swords lie strewn in the grass at the man's feet, implying that a battle has been fought and fate decided. Turbulent winds blow dark clouds into the blue sky above, a storm just beginning to blow in. Upright means failure or defeat, alternatively, winning at all costs. The inverse means making amends, past resentments rearing their heads. 6 of Swords. A man stands in a small wooden boat, pushing out across tranquil waters with a rod. Aboard the boat sit a woman and a small child. The woman's head is covered in a shroud and lowered in sadness as she faces the land ahead of them across the water. 6 swords, their points facing downward, stand erect in the boat ahead of her. Upright means better things are coming and release of emotional baggage. The inverse means unfinished business or wallowing in old hurts. 7 of Swords. A man in a red hat tiptoes away from an encampment, decorated in banners with 5 swords in tow. He is looking behind him, over his shoulder at 2 upright swords he was forced to leave behind, their points in the ground. He grins as though he has gotten away with thievery. Upright means deception, theft, or betrayal, strategic action, and a cunning move. The inverse means getting caught or being outsmarted, a heavy conscience or a confession. 8 of Swords. A woman in a red robe stands blindfolded and bound at the arms and waist. She is surrounded by 8 tall swords, their points in the barren ground beneath her. At first glance, the woman appears trapped in a cage of swords, but her feet are unbound, and if only she could see the way out, she could escape. The sky overhead is overcast, and a puddle of water pools at the woman's feet, symbolizing that the way to true sight is through intuition. Upright means self-imposed restrictions and limiting beliefs, a victim complex. The inverse means escaping negative thought patterns and finding new perspectives. 9 of Swords. In a pitch-black room, a woman sits up in her bed, hanging her head in her hands. She is dressed in her night clothes, the covers around her, as though she has just woken from a bad dream. Behind her in blackness, 9 swords hang horizontally, weighing heavily. Her bed quilt is decorated with roses and astrological signs, while the base of the bed displays an illustrative carving of a battle. Upright means mental anguish, depression or anxiety, fear and worry. The inverse means painful secrets and a guilty conscience. 10 of Swords. A bleak card indeed. The 10 of Swords shows a man lying dead on the ground, face in the dirt, with 10 swords stabbed into his back, their hilts straight to the sky. A red cloth is draped over his back. In the horizon, the black sky begins to give to the rising sun, representing the passage from this life to the afterlife, death and rebirth. Upright means deep wounds, betrayal, and a painful ending. The inverse means recovery and healing, rebirth. Page of Swords. A young man stands atop a hill, wielding a sword that is pointed up to the sky. While he leans with the sword in one direction, his eyes look the other way, as if to see what awaits next. Clouds roll dynamically across the blue sky, and birds fly freely overhead. The wind rustles the page's hair. The ground beneath him is green and fertile. The world is his oyster. Upright means thirst for knowledge, an agile mind, and novel communication. The inverse means all talk and no action, haste. Knight of Swords. The Knight of Swords races forward valiantly on his powerful gray steed. His shining armor is cloaked in a red cape, a red feather capping his helm. The knight holds his sword high in the air, passionate and purposeful. White clouds whip wildly in the blue sky overhead, and the fierce winds into which the knight determinedly charges blows the trees in the distance violently. Upright means unwavering ambition, quick action, and consequences be damned. The inverse means restlessness, lack of focus, and aggression. Queen of Swords. The Queen of Swords is a stern-faced woman wearing a crown decorated with golden butterflies, a symbol of transformation. Her throne is made of stone and engraved with cherubs and butterflies. She holds a sword high and straight in her right hand, her left raised as if to receive. She looks towards the future. Clouds dapple her blue cloak, echoing the swirling gray clouds that gather on the horizon behind her. Wind rustles the trees in the distance as the storm gathers. Upright means fierce individualism, thoughtful and unbiased judgment. The inverse means divorce and cold-heartedness. King of Swords. The crowned King of Swords wears a blue robe and purple cloak, representing spiritualism and intellect. He sits in a tall, stony throne engraved with butterflies and crescent moons. A stone angel sits just by his left ear, as if to pass him divine guidance. He holds a sword upright in his right hand, meaning rationality, but points it toward the left, meaning intuition. The earth, while grassy at the king's feet, is barren elsewhere. A few clouds roll in the distant blue sky, birds soaring overhead. Upright means the authority of truth and mental mastery. The inverse means manipulation and abuse of power. The Suit of Pentacles. The Suit of Pentacles corresponds to the element of earth. Like the ground beneath our feet, earth is stable, tactile, and secure. As such, this element is often connected to the tangible and material. But earth is also the means from which fertility springs, calling to mind verdant growth and colorful flowers. Earth is a feminine or yin element. The zodiac signs ruled by Earth are Taurus, Virgo, and Capricorn. Pentacles correspond to diamonds in the traditional playing cards. Decks that vary from the Rider-Waite format may refer to pentacles as coins or discs. The cards in the suit of pentacles often refer to the physical realm, including health and financial matters. If a card reading shows mostly pentacles, it indicates that the conflict in question is material in nature. Pentacle cards often refer to work, money, and the meeting of physical needs. Positive characteristics are manifestation, prosperity, generosity, business and property, grounding, foundations, sensuality, and the body. The negative characteristics are possessiveness, greed, single-mindedness, and materialism. Ace of Pentacles. A large coin is held aloft in the sky by a hand appearing from the clouds, outstretched. Like all coins in the Rider-Waite deck, this one is emblazoned with a pentagram, or five-pointed star, making a pentacle, a pentagram plus a circle. The landscape depicts a lush green garden with many white lilies. The garden gate is a floral archway at the end of a short path. From the archway, we can see only a peak of the mountains in the distance. Upright means a financial or business opportunity, manifestation of abundance, and a divine gift. The inverse means missed opportunities. Two of Pentacles. A dancing young man in a tall red hat juggles two large coins linked by the symbol of infinity. Two ships sail the sea behind him, riding enormous waves, a symbol of the ups and downs of life. But these do not faze the dancer, who is focused on his eternal juggling. Upright means balancing priorities and adaptability. The inverse means overcommitment and disorganization. Three of Pentacles. A young stoneworker stands on a step stool, using his tools to work on a stone archway in the church, the archway decorated with 3 stone coins. 2 architects stand beside him, holding out their plans for the church design. The 3 are discussing their progress and sharing their specialized knowledge toward a common goal. Upright means teamwork and collaboration, learning new skills. The inverse means disharmony in working groups, and inexperience and lack of knowledge. 4 of Pentacles. A robed and crowned young lord sits on a stone stool, clutching a coin tightly in his arms, as if afraid to lose it. Another coin is balanced atop his head, a symbol that his spiritual self is blocked by material concerns, while 2 more sit grounded in the earth beneath his feet. Behind him is a bustling town, the sky overhead. Upright means financial conservatism or financial control, and fear of scarcity. The inverse means financial loss and avarice. 5 of Pentacles. 2 people trudge through the snow, the icy wind whipping about. They appear to be impoverished. One is barefoot and wearing only a blanket, the other injured, walking with crutches. Behind them is a church, the light in the stained glass window illuminating a design of 5 coins. The 2 travelers are too focused on their sorrows and need to notice the warmth and comfort the church offers. Upright means financial loss, the dark night of the soul, and unseized support. The inverse means recovery from financial loss. 6 of Pentacles. A wealthy man in a red robe hands out coins to 2 beggars kneeling at his feet. He holds a perfectly balanced scale in his left hand, a symbol of equality and fairness. In the gray sky above the scene, 6 pentacles float. Upright means generosity, both giving and receiving. And the inverse means charity and unpaid debts. 7 of Pentacles. A farmer stands leaning on his hoe, his head resting in his hands as he gazes at his bountiful crop. The fruit of harvest are the coins themselves, 7 of them hanging from the vine, ripe and ready for plucking. The farmer, however, appears dejected and worn. It's taken hard work to get to this point. Upright means perseverance, long-term vision, and you reap what you sow. The inverse means lack of vision and small reward for a great effort. 8 of Pentacles. A young worker sits on a bench, engraving the pentagram in a coin by hand with a chisel and hammer. There is a town in the distant background, but here the man can focus on his work. 6 more coins, completed, line a tall post next to him, and the 8th lies in wait at his feet. Upright means developing or mastering a skill, an apprenticeship. The inverse means perfectionism, all work and no play. 9 of Pentacles. A beautiful woman stands serenely in a lovely garden, surrounded by lush growth and purple grapes. She wears an ornate robe emblazoned with the symbol of Venus, love and beauty. Behind her are trees and a large, welcoming home. The woman rests her right hand on a tall pile of harvested gold coins beneath her, while a hooded falcon perches calmly on her left, symbolic of self-control and balance. Upright means financial self-sufficiency and luxury. The inverse means poor investments and overworking. 10 of Pentacles. An old man with white hair wearing an ornate robe sits under the archway of his home, 2 white dogs at his feet, representing loyalty. A couple stands nearby, a young child in tow petting one of the dogs happily. The old man is the patriarch of the family, and he's built a legacy before him. His home is abundant with love as well as money. 10 coins float in the foreground over the scene. Upright means long-term success, family, and true wealth. The inverse means financial loss and the dark side of wealth. Page of Pentacles. A young man in a green tunic, meaning prosperity, and red headdress, meaning courage, stands in a field of grass and flowers, a plowed farmer's field, and a patch of trees behind him, a coming harvest. But the mountains in the distant background suggest challenges ahead. He holds a coin in his hands, examining it with great interest and care. Upright means manifestation and financial opportunity. The inverse means procrastination, stagnation, and lack of progress. Knight of Pentacles. A knight sits still on his unmoving, armored black horse, looking to the future and holding a gold coin out in his hand. He wears a red cloak over his shining armor, and a green plume decorates his helm. Behind him is a large, plowed field, symbolizing the effort this knight is willing to put in to realize his goals, even if it's a repetitive task rather than an exciting adventure. Upright means productivity and hard work, reliability or routine. The inverse means boredom and lack of self-discipline. Queen of Pentacles. The Queen of Pentacles sits in a plain red robe and green cloak on her stone throne, decorated with many ornate carvings representing sensual pleasure, fruit, goats, angels, and more. She holds a gold coin in her hands, cradling it gently and gazing down at it with care in her eyes. Her surroundings are a lush garden brimming with flowers and life. Mother Earth. By her feet, a rabbit jumps, the symbol of fertility, and blue mountains line the horizon. Upright means nurture and generosity, motherhood, a career-driven woman or provider. The inverse means control and manipulation. And finally, the King of Pentacles. The King of Pentacles, with flowers in his golden crown, is seated in an imposing throne decorated with carved bull's heads, his opulent robes embellished with grapevines. He holds a scepter, meaning power, in his right hand, and a coin in his left. At his feet and all around his throne grow grapevines, flowers, and other plants. Behind the king is his castle, symbolizing all that he has built and all that rules. The king's right foot is hidden in his robe, but his armored left shoe is visible, resting on a stone bull's head, as if he is ready to rise. Upright means business success, financial security, and discipline. The inverse means obsession with status and material goods, and stubbornness. Final words. Here it is. You've reached the end of the last book on tarot you'll ever need to read. Do you feel like a tarot master yet? Well, of course not. You may be done with your book learning, but practicum awaits. Remember, the only way to master authentic tarot reading is to practice using your intuition. I'll close this book by pulling another card for you, the Magician. Like him, you have all the tools you need in front of you to manifest your reality. I trust in you, dear reader, as do the cards. If you enjoyed this audiobook and you've learned more about real tarot card meanings, an honest review is always appreciated and will help me reach new listeners just like you who struggle with tarot. Good luck on your journey. Sybil Wolf.
We appreciate you tuning in to one of our captivating audiobooks. For more immersive experiences, here is another audiobook we're certain you'll enjoy. Don't forget to show your support by liking this video, sharing what you loved about this audiobook in the comments section below, and subscribing for more captivating audiobooks like this. Thanks for being a part of our audiobook community.